Trying to make it a little production value. My bad. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I ran out of AOL discs tonight, folks. I don't get my next one until Monday, apparently. All right. Where were we? So same deal, folks. If you want to be part of the show, you can chat with us and fellow Sharks fans on the Twitter, on the YouTube page, app, and page. It's one of those nights, folks, where my internet connection. Seriously. So let's get at it. You don't have a mic plugged in? Oh, lovely. It's like the Sharks.
Just
It's
this
like
show
Sharks
just isn't
Draft
meant
Live
to
show.
be.
I can hear you though. Oh no.
Fuck.
Let me make sure. Let's make sure.
There we go.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The fuck. This show is just not meant to be. All right.
All right.
Now that we've obviously not cleared all our technical issues,
Wow.
the Sharks did stuff today.
Yes, they did. Outside William Eklund last night at 7th overall, they picked up 7 more players in this draft. We'll begin with Benjamin Goodrow, a goaltender from the OHL Sarnia Sting, 6'2", 175. The Sharks originally had pick number 71 in this draft. They swapped selections in round 3 with St. Louis and picked up a 6th round pick later in this draft, of course. So, Ian, there were some people who were talking about maybe the Sharks would get a goaltender at number 7. Instead, they go till pick 81 to get their goaltender. Anything you can tell us about Benjamin not related to Johnny Gaudreau?
Yeah, so Benjamin Goodrow is a guy who has, like, if you look at his previous numbers in the season that was played, awful numbers. And then you look at where the Sharks took him and you're like, what the hell is going on? To put the numbers into perspective, in the 2019-2020 season with the Sting, he won 10 games, lost 13, and lost 2 in overtime. Had a 4.84 goals against average and an 890 save percentage. So you're probably thinking, why in the hell did the Sharks draft this guy? So what happened was he tried to get overseas. Unfortunately, couldn't get his passport sorted in time, and then he got, by just a stroke of luck, was invited to play in the under 18 tournament. In the under 18 tournament, he played 5 games, had a really good save percentage, 919 save percentage, 2.2 goals against average, was really, really good in the tournament. And he took his team to the gold medal in that tournament. So I think a lot of people saw that, and he kind of moved up a lot of people's boards. The Sarnia Sting are also an awful team. At the time of the stoppage, they were the 4th worst team in the entire OHL. Not very good defensively.
Obviously.
Yeah, so it's an interesting pick by the Sharks. I think it's an interesting gamble. I like it. The Future Considerations draft guide basically said, he has a strong balance of athleticism and technical skill, which I think you need as a goalie. He's extremely fluid in his net, moving around smoothly and efficiently. His rebound control isn't a weakness, but it could use improvement. And he does need to improve sealing the post. Now, obviously, look, the kid's 18. He's got some stuff that he needs to figure out, right? It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like, I'm really curious to see how he performs with a full season ahead of him in the OHL this year. That's going to be the big, that's going to be the big indicator. I think it's an interesting gamble, though. I like it. Based on, and the thing is with goalies is the question, I think it's fair to ask the question, okay, so he got hot for 5 games in the under, in the under 18 tournament. Is that just, which goalie is the real goalie? And this season we're going to find out. And I have high hopes for him. I think from what I've seen of him, which admittedly isn't a lot, I think there's definitely stuff there that, like, there's something there. Will it pan out? Who knows?
And it's a third round pick. We've heard the little joke going around that, third round picks don't do much for the Sharks. They usually go either first or the later rounds. So, yeah. And to get a goaltender, to maybe challenge Melnichuk, to, maybe go up against Zachary Emond or who else down the pipeline for the Sharks. It's something that they could use, and they definitely need a goaltender. And I'm sure the running joke after you read all those stat lines for his last season with Sarnia, it's going to be going yikes. But the Sharks saw something there, and they went for it. And at the third round, at number 81 overall, obviously there wasn't anybody at 71 for them. So,
yeah, and a lot of and it wasn't like the Sharks were alone in rating this guy high. A lot of scouting services had him in the top 100. So there is that.
All right. So the Sharks take a goaltender in round 3. Then they move on to round 4, where they would have 2 picks in this round. They first took Gannon Laroque at pick 103, 6'2" defenseman from the Victoria Royals in the Western Hockey League. What do you say about Gannon?
It was a surprising pick, I think, based on where he was selected. He wasn't ranked by any scouting services. Only Central Scouting had him ranked as like 219, and that's 219 North American skaters, because you got to remember, like, the Central Scouting doesn't rank them overall; they rank them by location. So he was 219 by Central Scouting North American skaters. So definitely an off the board pick. But he's a bigger defenseman. He's but some some of the people that have watched him were really impressed. Like Steve Kurianos, the draft analyst on Twitter, said the Sharks take this right-handed defenseman, which always good to have. He played for a dumpster fire in Victoria, so don't look at only stats. He really likes this pick as he holds the line, he hits hard, he has a very quick stick, very good defensive prospect. A guy who even got into the WHL the hard way, wasn't drafted in the WHL priority selection. So, a guy who's definitely faced some adversity so far. And again, because it's so hard, right? Like, you got his 2021, his 2019-20 stat line was 21 games played, 1 goal, 6 assists, 30 penalty minutes, and a -6. But again, Victoria, not a great team. I don't have much of my own information to add on this player. It seems like the Sharks were looking for some size on the blue line. That's a very consistent theme with all their picks that they took on the blue line, especially guys that are a little more responsible defensively after, So I think it's an interesting pick, but it was definitely off the board.
Well, I see in the chat here, Faulty Synapse saying, now this is the draft pick we expect from the old Sharks staff. So
yeah, it's like I said, way off the board. But again, boards are going to be really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how they pans out, because I think this is a draft where 5 years down the road, we might look and go, wow, like, there are some real good steals in this draft because of the situation where guys didn't get to play a ton of games or anything like that, right? So I think it's an interesting draft pick. I don't really have much to say one way or the other on him because I haven't really seen him play. But I thought Steve Kurianos had some nice things to say about him, so we'll see. I mean, it's they call them prospects for a reason. You don't draft sure things, right. You draft prospects. So we'll see what happens.
Right. Not everything's going to pan out. I mean, but you you would like as many diamonds in the rough as much as possible, especially in these rounds. And like we said, this is a draft year where it's tough to pick, and key in on a guy. So
Yeah, I think my only gripe with this pick
Go ahead.
is that you probably could have taken it in the 5th or 6th round.
Well, that seems like faulty synapse did say, that seems like the old Shark staff. That's a Tim Burke style of thinking. Moving on to pick number 121. This is the pick that the Sharks acquired from Toronto as being a helper in the Nick Foligno trade. Ethan Cardwell, a right winger, 5'11" from the OHL Barrie Colts.
Really interesting
Shifty
player.
right winger.
Yeah, really
Tell me
interesting player, Ethan Cardwell. Surprised. This is a D+1 player, so he wasn't taken in his first draft, which kind of surprised me. I'm not gonna lie. Like in the last season that he played, 2019-20, 28 goals, 24 assists in 78 games. Not a bad haul.
Not bad at all.
And when he got traded to Barrie from, I believe it was Saginaw. Was it Saginaw or no? Yeah, I think he got traded from Saginaw. But he was when he got traded to Barrie, he was a point per game player in Barrie. So I mean, like, definitely an interesting guy. Good pickup for the Sharks, I think. A lot of people kind of overlook overagers in the draft, like guys that are in their D+1, D+2 years. But I still think there's sometimes they just get it wrong, and I think this guy may be a case where they get it wrong. The Future Considerations Draft Guide says that he's an aggressive centerman that has some impressive agility in his footwork that powers much of his offensive game. He is also very strong, powerful shot, heavy shot. His ability to read the play does need to improve as he gets to the next level, so I think that's a concern. But again, we're well into the 4th round now, so again, prospects. They're not sure things, they're prospects. And Steve Curianos also tweeted, the Sharks take overage playmaker Ethan Cardwell. Thought he should have been drafted last year, which I agree with. After a strong run with Barrie, but went to Sweden and tore it up in 2021. Yeah, he was well over a point a game in Sweden. I don't remember which league he played in though. Sure-handed and crafty, can run possession from the half wall and make play after play. Average skater. So again, there's a lot to like there. I mean, obviously, the hockey IQ is a question going into the next level, but good program in Barrie. Barrie generally produces some pretty good hockey players, and I'm curious to see. I'm definitely, when Barrie comes to town, I'll be going and checking it out for sure.
Definitely. So you said he wasn't drafted last year. He was drafted this year. How much availability does he have for the WHL?
OHL.
Or OHL, excuse me.
So he, I believe that's a great question, and I wish I had that. I think he only would have to play a year, because I think he's going to be turning 19, so as soon as he turns 20, I think he can go to the AHL. But I'm not 100% there.
Gotcha. Just a little business here. If you check your Twitter DMs, I gave you a link to some more stats for you.
All right.
There, so if you want to check that out. We move on to round 5, and pick number 135 as Artem Guryev from Lindsay in the Ontario Junior Hockey League. There with played 20 games and 3 goals, 3 assists, and 66 PIMs. Ian, what can you say about Guryev?
Yeah, so he's a guy who has been playing in North America for a while. He played his AAA over here, and then went into the OHL with the Peterborough Petes. Didn't play a whole lot with the Peterborough Petes in his first year with them. He only played 14 games, but he had 2 assists and 4 penalty minutes. Again, another big guy, big defenseman. He has a big shot, deceptive speed, and he likes to skate with the puck. So he's a defensive defenseman, but he also likes to, he can also carry the puck out of the zone. Another guy who I think, I don't like OJHL numbers or BCHL numbers, or like those are, to me, they're kind of garbage. Because of just the level of competition you're playing with, so I don't put too much stock in it. But I'd like to see what, again, this is a guy who's going to be on probably should be a pretty decent Peterborough Pete's team. It'll be interesting to see how many points that he puts up in a full season in the OHL. And I think if he can, being the guy who likes to, skate with the puck, if he can rack up those assist numbers, I think the Sharks might have an interesting pick here. But yeah, I not a whole lot I can tell you about the big Russian outside of that. Wasn't really rated by many scouting services. I think only McKean's had him at 180. So based on that, the Sharks picked him ahead of 180. So that's not bad.
And at 6'4", 225, that
big boy.
That's just asking me to just get body checked into the boards like Kyle McLaren did to Drew Armenda years ago. And he's freshly 18. I mean, he was born on May 17th, 2003. So still time to develop even more.
Yeah, that's. I'm glad you brought that up, because he just barely made the cut for this year's draft. So I think that's going to be interesting. Again, it's going to be interesting to give him a full season, see how it plays out. I'm curious, but right now, I'm not really swayed one way or the other on him.
Basically a work in progress, more so than anything. Moving on, later in round 5, this pick is from Colorado as part of the Devin Dubnyk trade. McHugh from the OHL's London Knights. No, not those other Knights. No, we like these Knights. This is the Tim Hunter. We don't. Oh, my bad. I forgot the Sioux in London. Yeah, forgot.
They're like the Yankees of the OHL. No one other than people in London like the London Knights.
Well, when their rink is called the Budweiser Gardens, I mean, it's like, really, you're trying to be fancy here? Come on now. 34 games played in 2019-20 for McHugh from London. 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points, and 22 PIMs. What can you say about this center?
Yeah, fast skater. Steve Kirianos had this to say about him. He's a speedy center who didn't play this year, which obviously, again, guys that are going to get drafted that didn't play. But he was the 34th overall pick in the OHL selection when he was drafted there. So that's promising. Good compete level. Effect shift off the puck, but also a playmaker. Stats are low because he played a bottom 6 role on the London Knights, and anytime I saw London, I didn't really notice him. But that team was pretty good, and again, bottom six player. But I think now, as guys get older, they're going to get a chance to push up the lineup. So it's going to be interesting to see how McHugh slots into London this year with a full season under his belt.
And it'll be interesting to see, again, another 18-year-old born in February of 2003. So, again, another time for him to develop. And a lot of these, they're down the road here as well, including in round 6 at pick 167, Liam Gilmartin from the U.S. National Development Program. Had some decent numbers here, Ian, for the 6'2", 192 left shooting winger.
Yeah, 50 games played at the top level of the U.S. NDP, 13 goals, 22 assists, 64 penalty minutes. Another player who's going to be heading to London, which London's a great program, as much as I don't like the London Knights because, again, they're the Yankees of the OHL. But as much as I don't like them, it's a great program. It's definitely a program you want your guys to be in. It's not like the Flint Firebirds, for instance, where you don't want your prospects anywhere near. So, I mean, London's as good a home as any. Future Consideration Draft Guide said that he is a hardworking forward that does all the little things well. He's an effective player who battles for the puck, needs to improve decision-making. So again, a lot of guys that are taken here, theme seems to be, hardworking, blue collar, work ethic with a lot of them. So it's going to be interesting. Again, it'll be interesting to see how he does with the getting a full season in the OHL this year. I think it's going to be some fun hockey to watch, and we'll see what happens. But I like the pick. I mean, for a late for a sixth rather. I mean, you could do a lot worse.
And this is where you get the gems, folks. I mean, this is around the area where Pavelski went, where Nabby went. Nabby went in a round that no longer exists now. So you just never know in those times. Moving onward to later in round 6, this was the extra pick that the Sharks got from St. Louis for trading down 10 spots. They pick up center Theo Jacobsson from Jacobsson, of
Sweden.
course.
I think it's
Swedish.
probably Jacobsson, right? Sweden.
Yeah, that's my bad. Played in the Swedish Junior League in Moto Junior for the 5'10", 167-pound centerman.
Yeah, played up and down Moto's system. So, in the Allsvenskan, which is the second-tier league, he had 11 games and he had a goal and 4 assists, 2 penalty minutes. Smart Scouting had him at like 115, I think, and Central Scouting had him as the 103 European skater. Very good two-way forward. Very good positionally. But again, I don't know. I mean, it's a 6th-round pick. But from what I've read, he's very good positionally. He's very good he's very slippery. Can move around the offensive zone well. Get rebounds quickly. He's very good at anticipating where the play's going to go. So it'll be again, it'll be interesting to see. I think he's obviously a guy who's gonna stay over in Sweden next year, and if he can get more time in the Allsvenskan or the SHL, then I think that's only going to be good for him.
Oh, definitely. Again, April 6, 2003 birth date. Just a few months over 18. Plenty of time to develop and make their way going for it. Like Faulty Synapse is saying, mining for diamonds or a high floor.
Yep.
There's always chances to get him out there. So, and finally, the last pick at number 7, or round 7 pick, number 199, Yevgeni, no, not Nabokov, Kashnikov, from the Quebec Major Junior League in the Gatineau Olympique. Interesting, because you usually think, and this is kind of the stereotype, I think, of it, is that the QMJHL is more of the flashy scoring league.
Yeah, defense optional, end to end, be awesome. Yeah.
So, go ahead.
So this is a guy who played mostly in Russia, went to play in Russia in the MHL most of the season. When he did come back to the Olympique, he played 8 games, had a goal, 4 assists, and 11 penalty minutes. The season prior, 2019-20, played 59 games, 2 goals, 5 assists, 30 penalty minutes before the shutdown. He was ranked 130 among NHL Central Scouting for North American players. Steve Curiano said, good option for the power play, but also used in all situations. Good stick, holds the line really well. Another defensive defenseman, super physical guy, and which seems to be a theme of the Sharks draft, right? Big boy, physical, Not, I don't think it's another player who I think it'll be interesting to see how he does with the season. I feel like I just keep saying that over and over again, but it's true. I think with a full season, hopefully with some normalcy, it'll be interesting to see how some of these guys perform after not having much of a season this year, although the Q did play most of the year. But yeah, just big rugged defenseman again. Like I said, theme of the draft.
Yeah. Skylar with the $2 donation in the super chat. Hashtag QStats.
QStats.
So that'll be, like you said, and like we said before, it's a kind of a crapshoot, especially with leagues that had limited play or didn't even get off the ground this year, like the OHL.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be fun to see, and a lot of these guys might be heading over to San Jose later next month for the development camp, and hopefully we'll find some more information about the prospect scrimmage coming up very soon. We're not sure where it's going to be at or when it's going to be, but I would figure it's going to be happening. Skylar with another donation. Thank you, Skylar, as always. Our super chat donations do go back to help support the show and help me find more AOL CDs for that matter. But he's, so in DW Junior we trust. Hashtag DW Junior for GM 2024.
I mean, so far, I've really liked Doug Wilson Jr.'s draft since he's taken over. I think we're going to start getting into the point now where we're going to see what happens, right? Like, it's one thing to it's one thing to pick the players, but at that point you have to also develop them. And I still think development is a little bit of a weakness in the Sharks organization, but we're going to see, because a lot of these guys are going to start, especially next year, the year after, we're really going to start seeing the fruits of Doug Wilson Jr.'s drafts. And we're going to see if the output can match the hype. And, that's I'm looking forward to it, because I think he's drafted some really good players that I think are going to be players. Like, there'd be good guys. Like, there's some really good players that he's drafted that I'm really excited to see make the jump to pro. But it's, that it's coming. Like, the time is going to come, and we're going to see. I think there's a lot to be excited about with Doug Wilson Jr.'s since he's taken over the drafts, but you also have to get those players into the game, right? And we're going to see. And we'll see we'll see just how improved the Sharks are in the drafting department over the next couple of seasons, I think.
And, I was talking with AJ on the Twitter Spaces earlier. It's like, yes, we're excited, and we're excited for this, for this movement to happen. But of course, it's going to come in time. This isn't going to turn around right away.
No.
Like the reset that they keep, talking about.
Oh no, like none of these guys are going to be playing next year, right? Like I don't even think Eklund will be here next year. I don't think he should be here next year. Like there's no rush to get these guys in, and you're right. Like the Sharks have to do other things before this team is going to be super competitive, but a big part of being successful under the cap is having your guys come in when they finally do come in on those cheap deals and be effective. And with the Sharks money that's tied up in a lot of these big players, if you can't move that's going to be vital to this team being competitive. So again, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens over the next couple of years. Yeah.
Kind of going through some of the chat here. Thomas saying, I'd say our draft is looking good, not insane. Eklund falling to us definitely saves us from being mediocre in terms of draft results. Obviously, hindsight helps judge that.
Yeah, for sure.
And Denver Doyle asking, do you think Eklund will play in San Jose in 22-23?
Possible. But there's no rush, right? Like, I mean, I'm excited. Like, I'm really, really excited about William Eklund. We were on the show last night, and when that pick was going to happen, and Detroit didn't take him, and I thought for sure he was going to Detroit. Like,
Right.
I don't think I've ever like sat and just like with my heart like in a knot, because I'm like, oh God, Sharks, please don't shark this. Like, do not shark this pick. Just do what you're supposed to do. And they did.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about William Eklund. I think, you know, again, like he was the number one guy that I wanted on my board, because I didn't obviously think that a guy like Matty Beniers was going to fall to 7. And I was kind of surprised Eklund did. So I'm really, really excited about Eklund, but there's no rush to get him in the NHL. And I think he'll be great when he does come over.
Yeah, and definitely there's going to be some hype with him down the road, because I think there's going to be some expectation. Would you say that coming with the number 7 pick and needs to make things happen? A lot of pressure on him, a lot of pressure on this organization, and a lot of pressure on the coaching staff and the development staff to make this happen, get this reset turned around, and get the Sharks back where they believe they ought to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs and contending for a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to do much more than draft, because they've got a mess right now that is going to take some cleaning up. I just saw a question in the chat. Was I surprised that there wasn't a lot of trades? Not really. I think that if the Sharks were probably going to trade, they would probably try and trade into the second, but it's hard to trade into a round where you don't have a pick there already. Because, you know, a lot of times guys will, you know, to move up, you trade another pick in that round, and then like the St. Louis Blues did to move up with the Sharks. You know, they traded their third round pick, and then they also gave us a 6th, and the Sharks didn't have anything. You know, I just think in a draft like this, you didn't really need to make a lot of trades. You just kind of let the draft come to you. I mean, some teams obviously were a little more aggressive than others. I feel like Carolina tried to move every pick they had. But yeah, I'm not super surprised. I think in a draft like this, you let the draft come to you, and I think that's what the Sharks did.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, in case you missed anything when you watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and of course always at tealtownusa.com. Again, apologies for the technical difficulties we ran into tonight, again with my AOL CDs and such. So Ian, thank you for setting up the TTG portion of our YouTube channel to get this back to back on the air, because it's been a crazy weekend. I probably just ran out of time with everything here, with all this craziness that goes on, and it still keeps going as we make our way to Wednesday. Well, actually, more so Tuesday, as that's the deadline for part 1 for a buyout process. Will Martin Jones still be a Shark after Tuesday? That remains to be seen.
How
Come
many
Wednesday,
and will I post?
Oh, you might be Andrew Paddington big time on Thursday. Wednesday at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, or is it 9 a.m.? Yeah, noon Pacific.
Noon Pacific. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, free agent frenzy gets going in there. If some sort of Sharks news breaks, we will bring it to you on Teal Town USA. So keep your eyes out on our social media. We'll get that going out to you, indeed. So, Ian, as always, thank you. Appreciate you immensely. Your final thoughts on this draft weekend and where the people can find you.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it was a good draft. I don't want to... This draft's weird. I know some people have asked for, like, so they usually give, like, a letter grade for the draft, and I just... This draft was just too weird for letter grading. But I like it. Like, I look at some of these picks, and I really, really like them. I think that that they took some quality players up and down through the board. And obviously getting Eklund is just a massive coup for the Sharks. So I guess if I was going to do a letter grade, I'd probably give it a B, but I don't feel super comfortable with that based on the world that we've lived in for the past year and a half. So I mean, it is what it is.
Right?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm happy. I come away from the draft, from the Sharks draft, happy. I'm content. I don't think there's anything that really made me super upset. And I look forward to seeing what happens next with free agency. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff going on with the NHL as well as the Sharks. So I'm curious to see as the silly season continues. Is Jack Eichel going to get traded? Don't know. I thought if it was going to get done, it would get done by the draft, and I think Buffalo's going to have a harder time getting value now that the draft's over. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm still excited about, and the best part is it's almost August, which means that we're almost to next puck drop. So this is like fun, right? Like everything's kind of, we've just had this extended, usually the off season's so bloody long, but this, I feel like we're going to be cruising into next season so fast. And that, to me, can't argue with that, man, because this is the only sport I watch. So I'm really excited to get back in the trenches next in the next season. And I'm looking forward to the Greyhounds taking all my money because I have apparently all the OHL games to go to this year.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, I'm going to have to figure out a way to get money to you so I can get pucks from you. Indeed. It's kind of funny. We were talking on Twitter I was with AJ on the Twitter Spaces earlier today, and it's like, yeah, like, hey, we really don't get an off season. After free agent frenzy, we're just a couple weeks away from the development camp, and then a couple weeks after that, we'll have captain's ice, and after that, training camp, and then the puck drops.
Back into it.
So we're just gonna keep going. So stay with us. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below. Check out tealtownusa.com for everything there. So with that, for Ian Reid, for myself, I'm Erik at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and the Instagram. Follow us at tealtownusa on practically every social media possible. Yes, there is a TikTok somewhere. We'll probably get that going down the road. We'll see. Maybe we'll have Ian dance or something.
Oh my god,
or whatnot. So
I'm too old for TikTok.
Until next time, or unless when news breaks regarding the San Jose Sharks, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you very much to the nearly 45 people watching us on the channel tonight. We appreciate you. And until then, take care. Good night.
Goodbye.